Let's jump straight into it. Why you should brand yourself in 2023. Now, if you haven't gotten a chance to check out my last video, how to build a brand in 30 days, I highly recommend you doing so. This is a continuation to this video. Now, why you should brand yourself in 2023. There's various reasons on why you should brand yourself, but today I just want to talk about 5 reasons on why you should consider branding yourself today. But before we even jump into it, what is branding? I always have to go over this for everybody, just in case you forget. Branding is what you do. That's right, branding is what you already do. You can turn anything that you already do into a brand, whether it's skateboarding, whether it's playing the piano, whether it's swimming. You can turn anything that you already do into a brand. We are human beings. We are meant to be active. We are meant to be in motion, creating and inspiring. That is the purpose of life. And I honestly believe that branding is a way that we are able to exemplify what it is that we do in a, fashionable, creative, business-like way. So let's just jump straight into these 5 things. Branding is the future and it's the now. Branding is also deeply embedded in our past. When you go back to the 19th century, you can find branding in the 1920s. You can find branding in the 50s, the 40s, and the 60s. Now, if you want to get more inspiration on where to, get branding ideas, concepts, and things like that, I'm also going to leave a book in the description saved to the end of the video, guys. So you got to stick around to the end of this video to get some of the gems that I'm going to recommend you guys to enhance your branding. But I would just say, branding has been around since the beginning of the times. It's not something that's new. Branding has been around. You even think about hieroglyphics, like, what the Egyptians wrote on the walls and things like that. That's still branding in a way. So branding has done nothing but evolved over time. So branding isn't new. It's just the way that it's been packaged is new. Now, branding is the future, and we're going to talk about more in depth why it's the future, but understand that branding is always moving forward. It's always moving progressive. There's always new brands that's coming out every single year. Every single day, there's a new brand that's on the market that people are raving about. And that's from top to bottom. So don't think about branding as just, a product or a service. Thinking about an individual that's making a name for themselves. They are a brand, and there are many different people every single day in entertainment, all kinds of different walks of life that are making a name for themselves as a brand. So branding is the future and it's the now. Branding is the way that we allow other people to connect with our interests. It's how we let people into our process of how we create, how we design, how we think. That's what branding ultimately is. And I think this is why it's so important, because right now we are in what is called a creator economy, moving into Web3. We're going to see more micro influencers. We're going to see more collaborations between small and major brands. You're going to see more collaborations between the high-end brands with the small-end designers. Why? Because everyone is starting to wake up to the reality that you are a brand. You do have a voice. You do have influence, and that's powerful in this day and age. Why? Because a lot of these major brands are scrambling for the attention. They're scrambling for what they've gotten over the last decade. So now they're kind of threatened by the small micro influencers, and they really need more small micro influencers to help build their brand presence and connect with the audience that they're trying to connect to as well. So this is why it's important to build a connection, is because that connection, even on a small level, can also plug you into, influence on a macro level. So don't just look at, oh, I'm a small time influencer, I'm a small brand, nobody's paying attention to me. You'll be surprised how many major brands may send, samples or products that they want you to test out or recommend to your subscribers. So don't underestimate the power of being a micro influencer. Don't underestimate the power of building a tribe and connecting with people. Branding is how we define value, ultimately. If you saw somebody walking up the street with a nice pair of shoes on, you will automatically associate that person as probably being, into shoes, a sneaker collector, maybe an athlete, It's a lot of possibilities that you could suspect, but branding is how we identify value. Even when it comes down to the way that we purchase things, I will probably rather have a Audi over a Ford. Why? Because Audi is known to have cars that are a little bit more durable, where Ford is known to have cars that may be more affordable. So branding is how we determine the value without even second guessing. So I think that's another thing that you want to be able to get across to your target audience is the value that you provide through your branding. And your branding is, to me, what marries all of the products and services that you may offer to the people, because they can see the level of quality through the products and service and branding that, you know, you presented and packaged it to them in. So don't underestimate, you know, value and branding together. Don't just think because you have a nice product or a nice service, or you have a nice logo, or you have a nice website or anything. No, value is how we identify as brands. Just take all of those things into consideration when you are curating yourself as a brand. Is what value do I bring to the table? How do people benefit from the things that I offer? And what can I do to enhance that value moving forward? You look at some of these big brands like Nike, you look at some of the brands like Apple, Whole Foods, the list goes on. A lot of these brands have done fairly well at creating a tribe. And I think in anything that you do, especially in business, the main thing that you want to do is create a tribe. Without a tribe or a devout following, it's hard to remain consistent in business. A lot of businesses are able to stay afloat mainly because they have a support system that's been supporting them, you know, mainly since day one. And the trust has been established and built there. You know, you look at brands like McDonald's, or if you look at brands like Adidas, or any brand, you know, that's been around more than 20 plus years, they have built consumer trust. So you want to make sure that, you know, you are able to create a tribe with what you're doing. And that's one of the first things that I think that we all should focus on when establishing our brand in the early phases, is creating our tribe, not worrying about the likes, not worrying about how many people are watching our content, mainly just staying consistent for the people that actually value what you bring to the table every single day. And that's what I find to be the most beneficial in the world of branding, is really just being consistent and formulating your tribe. Branding is how we relate. It's how we relate to a particular thing. Me personally, I love Sega Genesis. I love Sega Genesis because it makes me, you know, it just makes me feel like, you know, that person that's very cool. If I could just say it in the lamest terms, like that's the best way that I could put it. And the reason why I say Sega is because Sega at the time when I was growing up came out in about late 80s, early 90s, I believe. But Sega was made for older kids, whereas Super Nintendo was made for younger kids. And for some reason, I didn't really gravitate towards the Super Nintendo. I gravitated more towards the Sega, mainly because of the games that they had on Sega. So it goes to show you how branding works, where it's like, yeah, they're both video games, Nintendo, Sega, but why did I tend to gravitate towards the Sega over the Nintendo? I would accredit that also to just being the youngest in the household, and I really wanted to feel cooler than my siblings. So while they had PlayStations, they had, you know, Super Nintendos, I had a Sega, and it was games that only I could play on my games that they couldn't play on their games. So I found that to be cool, and I identified with Sega. I like, you know, with Sega Silver, I identified with Sonic. So I believe that there was some relativity there, you know, with Sega, and the way that I wanted to feel as far as just, you know, within my own household, and what their actual blueprint was as far as, hey, we don't want to cater to the kiddos. Super Nintendo already has the kids with Mario. We're going to create Sonic and Sega. So just look at that in a nutshell, just to show you where it's like, okay, branding does have a lot to do with relativity, being able to relate to your customer, no matter how old they are, what they may look like, what background, ethnic, whatever. Branding to me divides all of that. There's no race, there's no nothing. Though some brands do put that in the underlying undertones of their branding, for me, I feel like branding, you know, shouldn't be that, but branding, you know, to an extent does kind of become cult-like. But let me just, you know, jump into a few other points, you know, in this video. One of the first things that you want to do when you are deciding to brand yourself in 2023 is just really finding your niche, finding what you're already good at. Don't try to do something that you have no experience doing. And even if you don't have experience or you have minimal experience, you should start documenting the process of you learning, and then, you know, going from every level within that field, so people can see your dedication that you had towards that particular interest. So I do think that you can, you know, start off with something that you're not so good at and my best recommendation, document the process. But if you don't want to do that, just find something that you're already passionate and good at, and just start documenting that process. So if you like writing, start documenting why you find writing to be beneficial to your mental health, why you find writing to be an escape from reality, why you find writing to be the greatest power in the 21st century. You know, you can create many different ideas around writing, but is it something that you're good at and that you don't have to, you know, work too hard to sell to people? And I think that's what's most important is that not over trying, but just allowing yourself to naturally flow with something that you are already knowledgeable in, well-spoken in, things like that. So that's just something that you want to do, is just find your niche and know what you do well and continue to just practice at it every single day. Because the more that you practice at it, the more that you're going to be able to expound on it fluently, the more insight that you're going to have about it, and the more of a power source that you're going to become for people who are just now learning about whatever it is that you're offering. So I think that's one of the advantages, you know, of just documenting the process, is that, you know, you can really show people the bad struggle phase, and then you can also show them where you are present moment and where you plan to be. So it's cool. You know, this is definitely a special time that we are in within the internet as far as just being able to document. Imagine if Albert Einstein or Tesla, you know, was able to really document visually their process of what they did every single day with equations and things like that. Like, who knows, you know, how many more advancements or inventors will probably come out of the 21st century, you know, had we had those videos or that documentation. So just something to consider. This is the most important thing about branding that I'm going to say in this video. Web 3.0 is coming. It is actually already amongst us, but I would say in another maybe 10 to 15 years, you will start to see a heavy influence of Web 3.0 within the internet. And what do I mean by Web 3.0? If you're not familiar with Web 3.0, Web 3.0 is the third phase of the internet. We had Web 1, we also had Web 2, and now we are in Web 3. Web 3 is a decentralized internet, meaning that we do not have major platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all of these major platforms that can just kick you off, control, you know, your content that you're uploading and things like that. The future is going to be a lot more decentralized and liberated with the internet, and this could be dangerous, but with danger also comes a little bit of reward. So just think about, you know, how you can start positioning yourself for Web 3.0, mainly because, for instance, me personally, I'm 30 years old, but with me being 30 in 20 years, I could be 50 years old still creating some form of content, which I plan to do. Let's say the internet is in Web 3.0 and I have no clue about what Web 3.0 is. I never took the time out to learn what Web 3.0 is. I'm already setting myself behind. So this is why I'm giving you guys the heads up to start branding yourself in 2023, so you can start positioning yourselves for Web 3.0, which will be implemented in the next 10 to 15 years, where you will have to buy more things on the internet from personal creators through Web 3.0 using wallets and things like that, cryptos. So we need to start learning the future of the internet. No, it's not going to just be a big announcement. Hey, Web 3.0 is here. Everybody just jump on it. It's going to be a slow transgression of influencers and people who are in the know, really just moving their presence and their audience over to Web 3.0. So this to me is one of the most important things that I feel like you should take away from this video. If you are a content creator already, or if you are looking to brand yourself in 2023, you want to start positioning yourself for the future of the internet. It is not going to just remain as we know it right now with Web 2.0 and social media. It will evolve. Before we close this video, I just want to leave you guys with a few book recommendations that I would recommend. Me personally, I love buying books. Even though I don't get an opportunity to read every book, I do like to read specific chapters to me that will benefit me in that now. So I like to just buy books, just mainly to go to the specific juicy content that I want to take from it. But I'm just going to give you guys a few book recommendations for 2023 that I think you should make an investment in. All of these books you can get for under $100. First one that you want to get is a planner. I know this sounds crazy. Many people overlook it. I'm one of those people. I'm people, guys. A planner, mainly because when you have tasks, when you have duties, when you have responsibilities, you need to start organizing. You need to start planning like you already have 1,000 things to do in your day. Don't wait till you have 1,000 things to do in your day if you can't even manage 2 to 3 things that you have to do in your day. So that's something that I strongly recommend is buying a planner and using it. Don't just allow your planner to collect dust. Start planning certain things. Plan a date with yourself. Plan to go to, you know, the movies by yourself or with your girlfriend or something, or your boyfriend. Plan. That's the best advice that I can give to anybody, because if you don't have a plan, you don't have a roadmap. So make a roadmap through planning. That's the first one. Second one is everyone is an influencer, and this book is by Kylie Keenan. I just got this book. I had a little bit of time to look through this book a few days ago, but it says building a brand by engaging the people who matter the most. Now, going right back into what I was just saying, everybody is an influencer, guys. Everybody moving forward in the future will be either an influencer or a consumer. It's either or. You're either going to be influencing people on the things that you consume or interested in, or you're going to just be strictly a consumer. You're going to be watching the videos all the time. You're going to be buying the products all the time. So you have to, you know, either create a balance or just say, hey, I'm fine with where I'm at. So if you haven't gotten a chance to get that one, or if you don't have that one, grab that one. Another one I recommend, graphic design from 1890 to today. The reason why I recommend this book is because I told you that branding is the now and it's the future. So with this book, it goes all the way back from the 1800s. I told you branding really started late 1800s, early 1900s, really well before that. But as we can document, we can see, you know, the history of branding throughout this book. And I really like this book, man, because it has like a lot of just like cool art, man. Like it's so much cool art in here. And I'm gonna get into later why I had to buy this book also. But this is another book that I highly recommend. I like graphic design. I like digital media. I believe that the future is motion design, animation, graphic design. So if you are somebody that's into branding, I highly recommend also just taking the course on web development, taking the course on graphic design, illustration, something like that. Learning Canva, learning Videoly, learning just different things. And for those of you who may probably want to learn those things, I do have a surprise at the end of the video too as well. Another surprise. I know I said surprise with those, but I got another one. But yeah, graphic design, that book definitely is another keeper. Now, those are just 3 books that I recommend. There are more that I will recommend in the future. I just don't want you guys to try to, you know, break the bank buying all of these books. Just start off with any book, not just those books. Any book that you find gravitational towards you and branding. But you definitely want to read. You definitely want to study and become more learned in the world of branding, because to me, branding is more than just business. It's spiritual. And that's something that I'm gonna get into in a little bit later videos. The spiritual connotation of branding, what branding really is from a spiritual aspect. But today we're just gonna keep it mundane. We're just gonna keep it that. Also have some exciting news to share with you guys too. I'm actually in school full time. So this is why I haven't been making as much consistent content. You guys only have gotten the one video, how to build a brand. But I'm just telling you guys that my videos and content is about to really go to the next level. This probably might be one of the last times I make a long form video that I'm sitting in front of a camera. I probably might not make too many videos like this, but if you guys make me do it or bring me back to this, I will. But moving forward, I want to be a little bit more creative. I want to be a little bit more, just a little bit more just who I am as an individual and creative. So it's nothing personal, but I just find these videos to be kind of like, I got to sit here and watch them talk for 20, 30 minutes. Do I really feel like doing it? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. So I'm going to make them a lot more engaging and interactive for you guys to keep the attention span and watch time up. So I'm in school right now. I'm currently going for communication arts. And one of the reasons why I went back to school as a creative is mainly because I believe that we all have natural creativity, but I do believe that we have to develop structured creativity. And what do I mean by that is being able to have discipline with your creativity, being able to have guidance with your creativity, and being able to have like creative discernment in a way, knowing what fits and knowing what doesn't fit. And I think we can do a lot of these things without going to school, but I do think that school helps us get the format. And then also too, what a lot of people underestimate is that school allows us to connect with like-minded individuals, people who are just as interested in a particular thing that you are. You might find your next business partner. You might find your next best friend, your next spouse, anything, you never know. And I think that's, you know, one of the pros of putting yourself in an environment like school is because you are now surrounded around like-minded individuals. And I can definitely say that I'm very, you know, happy that I went back to school. I've also found out a lot of different things about statistics when it comes to creative directors. So I'm actually going to school to become a creative director. And I learned that only 9% of corporate creative directors are African American. So that means out of 33,000 creative directors, only 3,000 creative directors are African American. I want to be one of those creative directors. And I'm not saying that if you're watching this video, you have to go to school to be a creative director. I'm not saying that. Me personally, I chose to go to school to be a better creative director. And that's just my personal advice, guys. So, hey, if you guys, have anything that you want to share or add to this video on why you should brand yourself in 2023, just leave a comment down below. I appreciate you guys for just, sticking around, waiting for me to drop more content. But just know that, I am thinking about you guys, and I will be continuing to distribute more content. Also, the branding blueprint is available for $9.99. If you have not grabbed that, I highly recommend you grabbing it, guys. Why? Because the branding blueprint is more than just a regular standard ebook. It's an ebook that will continually upgrade. So the more that I learn about branding, the more that I will add to this document or this ebook, and you will be able to see and access the updates 5 years, 10 years from now. I personally like it just because I can continue to add certain things over time that, I find beneficial to branding. So you're not just spending $9 on something that's going to be outdated in the next year or two. Also, next month, I will be coming with the digital creator toolbox. So if you guys haven't gotten the branding blueprint, I also recommend you guys, be on the lookout. Digital creator toolbox, guys. Now, thank you guys for chiming in. I also do courtesy consultation. So if you want a courtesy consultation, feel free to hit the link down below. Until the next time, guys, peace, love, adios.